Hello everyone and welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And I'm very happy to say that in this video we're going to continue our army series for the Slaves of Darkness by talking about their battalions. And I am even more happy to say that joining us yet again is one of Corn's favourite bloodthirsters, Jamie. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, thanks, mate. How are we doing?
Very well, very well. Thank you very much for joining us as always to go over, I think, something that quite often gets overlooked in battle tomes is battalions, because some people have the stigma going they're either broken because they've played against a really powerful one that's probably no longer that powerful one, or people's opinions are they're all shit. So let's try and find out how we can find a happy medium, which I think is probably a safe bet with the Slaves of Darkness ones. But before we get into this video, I do just want to do a massive shout out to my patrons. So we've got my Morghasts, which is Sandback, my Vampires, which is Mir, Martin S, Rouse321, Max T, David A, my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, and AW77, Dice Sagas, and WolfNick. Guys, thank you very much for being awesome. If it wasn't for your continued support, I wouldn't be able to continue this channel, so thank you very much. If anyone would like to check out my Patreon, there'll be a link at the top of my description down below. So the only last thing I want to say is if you enjoy this video at any point through it, make sure you smash that like button, so it really does help out the channel. Okay, so let us go on to our first battalion, which is going to be the Gods Sworn Champions of Ruin. So this battalion, looking a little bit at the lore for it. So Fury of the Damned. The lords of the slaves of the darkness are always seeking to prove their might before the gods, pushing themselves to new and terrifying feats of slaughter. Right, this battalion's going to cost us 180 points, which I think you're going to say, James, well, quite a hefty price before we read into the rules.
Yeah, that 180 is quite hefty. I think that's normally the thing that kills battalions off, is the price sound like that.
Agreed. And the other thing, like, and I'll be saying this all the way through it, like 180 points, 30 points down from a Demon Prince, as that's what I'm going to compare everything to in this army. But organisation, right? So one unit chosen from the following list. So a Chaos Lord, a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, Exalted Hero, Chaos Ogride Myrminoid, or however that was pronounced, Slaves of Darkness Demon Prince, Dark Oath War Queen, and Dark Oath Chieftain. So you can have one of those units as part of this battalion. And when it's bold, like Chaos Lord or Chaos Sorcerer Lord, that's just keywords. So obviously Chaos Lord, we have the Manticore version, the Carcatrack on demonic mount, and then obviously just on foot as well. And the Sorcerer Lord, again, on foot or on mount. So that's why it's bold keyworded there. For the rest of the battalion, though, it's going to be 4 to 8 units chosen in any combinations from the following list, which is going to be Chaos Chosen, Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors, Chaos Marauders, and Chaos Marauder Horsemen. And what is this thing going to do? So, in your hero phase, you can pick one hero from this battalion that is within 3 inches of an enemy unit. If you do so, that hero can fight. So, Jamie, I'm going to throw this over to you to start with. What are your thoughts? What's going through your head right now? Keep it clean.
So I do like the ability. Also, you can pick what hero that you're going to have do this. So obviously, you want someone who's going to be good in combat. So the Demon Prince was mentioned there. Obviously, the Chaos Lord, any of the variants, all great choices for this.
The Exalted Hero of Chaos as well, of course.
Why he's in there, I have no idea. I'd say the only thing I don't enjoy about this is it's only one. You only get to pick one hero, so you still, because you can pretty much fill out your unit drops, but you cannot make this a one-drop army.
No, because you can go, well, my
with
Slaves of Darkness army only. Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have a lot of heroes, aren't you?
You're going to have,
or a few.
Unless you're going very specific builds, like, I don't know, like an Archaon list or something, you've probably got a good chance of having 6 heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It also does say you can pick one hero. You can only have one hero in this battalion unless there's something that turns something else into a hero, maybe. So it's weird where it says that. But what I will say is when we look at some of the battalions later, there's a lot of mortal slaves of darkness chucked around. So the fact that you can have a demon prince in this battalion is quite cool. Because a demon prince, partly attacking in the hero phase and then being able to attack the enemy before it can get hit in the combat phase as well with its immortal champion, always strikes first. That means it's hitting the enemy twice before it gets hit back.
Yeah, and that's going to be a strong combat ability, isn't it? Like I say, it's a shame it says one hero where you can only pick one hero unit anyway. So it's a bit weird.
Jamie, there'll be someone on the internet who can point out the very weird example of how that's allowed. I'm trying to think if you make Vanguard heroes in Knights of the Empty Throne, but I don't think that's relevant here either. So, because they can't be in this list. Yeah, I think it's good. How this used to work back in the Wild West days of Age of Sigmar, in the Grand Alliance books, was you can only partly attack if your hero was within 3 inches of an enemy hero, which just kind of sucked. This, a lot better. A lot better.
Yeah.
Because you're always
a bit steep still for 180 points. Obviously, what most people do forget, 180 points does get you an artifact and a command point.
And I would say there are some artifacts in Slaves of Darkness, depending on what sub-legions you go for. I.e., if you go for Idolaters, there's not much point in taking a battalion as much because you're not getting an extra artifact. So, until maybe they fix it at some point in the future because they don't have an artifact list. But in the ones from the core Slaves of Darkness book, some of the artifacts you can get from those sub-legions lists are pretty good. Like there's, I believe the ones from the spoilers, there's one that gives you D3 command points, and then at the start of the game, and then there's the other one that makes that hero always strike first. So it's quite good to have two. There's more, obviously, examples out there. So it can always be useful to have more than one artifact in your Slaves of Darkness army.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I say, there's one thing. It's when you charge, you get to fight first. So you could always put that on a Chaos Lord on Magnacore, and then have this battalion and have Demon Prince, and then you got kind of like extra attacks in the hero phase. Plus, if you're charging, you got 2 things fighting first.
Yep, that's something I definitely want to try out. I think it'd be really cool. And then when it comes to the units, very flexible is what you'll see as well in, I think, the next one as well. Your unit choice is basically what's your flavour for marked chaos units, if you like. So yeah, I think it's cool, but 180 points, I would have to try it out because by just reading it on paper, not worth 180 points. I mean, I will say that you're very command point hungry in this army, so you do get that extra command point, obviously. So if you factor that in, 180
but 180 points though. 180 points, you could buy 3 command points.
Well, you can only buy 1, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh yeah, true.
But so yeah. It's 130 points though, right? It's 30 points away from a Demon Prince. Just saying. But right, okay. So with that one, let's move on to the next one, which is going to be the God's Wrath Warband, which again is 180 points. So the organisation, so 1 unit chosen from the following list: Chaos Lord and Manticore, Chaos Sorcerer Lord and Manticore, Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount, Chaos Lord and Carcadrak, Chaos Lord, or Chaos Sorcerer Lord. So basically anything with a Lord in its title almost can go on it. No Demon Prince, no Dark Oath War Queens or Minotaurs, effectively, can be your hero in this, if you like, in comparison to the others. But very similar to the last one, 4 to 8 units chosen in any combinations from the following list: Chaos Chosen, Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors, Chaos Marauders, Chaos Marauder Horsemen, and 1 or more Chaos War Shrines. Then going on to the ability, so why would you take this? You've got Searing Doom Bolts. So empowered by chanting prayers, the War Shrine unleashes bolts of hellish energy. In your hero phase, you can pick one Chaos War Shrine from this battalion and roll a dice for each enemy unit within 24 inches of that Chaos War Shrine and is visible to it. For each 6, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie. It's just a theory I've got going on. But you know when they did the points of this battalion, do you think they accidentally put a 0 at the end of it?
I would think so.
Because really, this battalion...
Well, they added an extra 100.
Yes. I'd say... I thought about saying that, but I think it's the 0. It's the 0, which is the problem here. Or maybe they just put an 18 in front of it. Who knows? Okay, so joking aside, why am I not talking really positively about this battalion? Just because you're so the thing you get from this, right? Obviously, you get the Archlet's command trait. We've been over that, but the Searing Doombolts is probably the coolest thing about it, just the title, because rolling things on 6s. No, I get it. Your range is huge, right? 24 inches, massive bubble. But if you look at the enemy army and go like, I don't know, even if it's, let's say, you've got 9 enemy units in range of it, on average you'll get 1.5 6s. So 1 6. And then it will take D3 mortal wounds. Like...
And again, they're like being stingy with the heroes. So
yeah, that's
one
the
hero
other
is
thing.
going to be in the
That's
drop.
The other thing. Because, what, like I'm sure you're about to say this, Jamie, is, well, at least this could be a 1-drop army, maybe? No, because you only get 1 bloody hero, so...
Yeah, if that, if they put it down to something like 18 inches and done it on a 4-up, then you could say, yeah.
It used to do damage to you as well, but I think you were more chance of doing the D3 mortal wounds, so I don't even know if it's got any better. To be completely honest with you, I'm just not a fan.
It's got lots of versatility in its units. If you want some kind of drop, then obviously you're taking a War Shrine. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure there's still other things to come in which you can include.
You would have more versatility if you had an extra 180 points. But I know. If you really love your War Shrines, there is a battalion for you. But I personally think that you're better not taking this battalion and taking another War Shrine instead and actually saving 10 points. Because a War Shrine is 170 points.
Yeah, definitely.
And at that point, it's a shame. But there's not really anything more I want to add. I mean, like, I get it, guys. Like I said, if you like War Shrines, honestly, it's not a problem with that. Just drop this and take another one. Anything else you want to add to it, Jamie, before I quickly move on?
No, I agree with you. I don't rate this one at all. You can't really do much of it, can you? It's only the annoying thing is the War Shrine is the only thing that benefits from it. All the other units don't get no. There's nothing that benefits them. It's not like the War Shrine's bubble goes up by 6 inches or something.
No, like if this battalion made you have a 5-up ward save, death save, damage after save, whatever you want to call it, instead of a 6-up from the War Shrine, awesome, 180 points, worth it. And don't you think that would have been a much better thing they could have done?
Yeah, then rather than, if you roll a 6, you can hurt something from D3. Only if you roll 6. Yeah, yay.
Yeah, and 108 points just can't justify it. So moving swiftly on. The next one is going to be the Runebringer Warband. So this is 140 points, more like it. And what's even better is this is a battalion that I have ran before on TTS, Tabletop Simulator, and I've enjoyed it very much. So the organisation, one unit chosen from the following list: Chaos Lord Demonic Mount or Chaos Lord and Karkadrak. And then 4 to 8 units chosen in any combination from the following list: Chaos Knights, Chaos Chariot, Gorby's Chariots, Chaos Marauder Horsemen. And then the abilities: Dark Cavalry. The Charger of Runebringer Warband can sweep away entire enemy formations. Each time a unit from this battalion finishes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of that unit. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. I just want to say out the gate, if you are looking into getting Slaves of Darkness, because you really like the idea of a cavalry force, and because like Chaos Knights and Chaos Chariots, they can be battle line. If that's like your bag and you really like that, this is your battalion. This is the battalion for Chaos Knights, and this is also the battalion for Chariots. I know there was like the I'm trying to think of the name now, but there's a battalion that came out with the Idolaters in the Broken Realms Marathi book, which is all about Chariots, but turns out it's crap. So don't worry about that. The Runebringer Warband is the one for you. And I'll go into more detail, but I want you to talk about this one a little bit, Jamie, because I don't want to shout all the nice things about it before you get a chance.
Yeah, you've managed to have a game with this. This is one that, first glance through the book, as a cavalry fan, everyone everyone loves a good idea of having like a cavalry army.
Especially the
and
new
this one,
Knights.
this one like stands out. Only one hero. So you got the choice of the two, either on the horse or. But then you got your nice units of Chaos Knights. You got fast Chaos Chariots, which this just helps give them some extra damage. Same with the Gorth Bead Chariots, and then you got Chaos Marauder Horsemen, which I think are pretty much like good hidden gems in this army.
Yeah, even for a laugh, if you're looking at this and you look at it mainly like taking Chaos Knights and Chariots, but even you're looking at it and go I'm just going to take a unit of 5 Marauder Horsemen, and every time they charge into you, they do D3 more wounds and 2 up. That's cool. Yeah,
definitely. I definitely would consider 2 to 3 units of Knights with an extra 3 units of Marauders. Your Knights can easily just charge in and be the tanks as well. Your Marauders can, with the good old Javelins, give you some range cover. And on the charge, they're doing on a 2+ D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, so talking about from my experience, when I played it on TTS, I've actually had 3 or 4 games with this battalion, and that was in an Idolaters list, but that's just because I was getting some experience so I could talk about it on the Aeris Coach channel. But I'm not gonna lie, out of those 4 games, I think I won all of them. It was and this battalion was great, because let me explain something. So if you haven't watched mine and Jamie's other videos so far on Slaves of Darkness, something that's probably came up in every video, even if it was not relevant, is that I love Chaos Knights. And when I mean Chaos Knights, I mean with Lances, because I'm all in on the charge, and if I don't get the charge, not a happy boy, but if I get the charge, very, very happy boy, and I know I'm in for a treat. Because Chaos Knights with Lancers on the charge, right? They do, their attacks turn from 2 attacks, force the hit, freeze the wound, no rend 1 damage, to 2 attacks, force the hit, freeze the wound, but -2 rend now, and 2 damage, so they have that huge impact damage on the charge. But, as I've just mentioned, their normal attacks, if they do not kill what they are fighting on the charge, they're going to be stuck in that pile of mud for a very, very long time. So why is this battalion useful for that? Because it now means that you've got impact mortal wounds on top of your combat. So this is only going to help your knights be able to clear whatever they've charged. Right? So that means that they can maybe in your next turn, or let's say the next turn is your turn, you get a double turn, whatever. Now you can move on and charge the next thing. You're not stuck in combat, because your knights, literally, the difference between your horse attacks and your actual knight attacks are pitiful when they're stuck in combat. And talking about Chaos Knights for this battalion, is I've seen a lot of people post lists and stuff on the, I think it's Slaves of Darkness Facebook page, asking for advice and everything, and they say they love Runebringers, they love Chaos Knights, they want to make it work, and they always take blocks of 10 Chaos Knights. And unless there's one example, which I'll mention later, blocks of 10 Chaos Knights just aren't going to work, because that footprint is just too big, and especially if you go Lancers like me, they're just going to get bogged down in combat too easily. And the benefit of taking smaller units, i.e. units of 5, is only quadrupled, shall we say, by taking it in this list, because now for each of those units, they'll do those D3 mortal wounds in the charge on the 2 up. So if you take a unit of 10, that's 1 dice you're rolling. But if you take 2 units of 5, for example, that's 2 dice. How I was running it when I said I played it on TTS is I had the minimum requirement, right? Because unless you're chucking some Marauder Horsemen or something, or your whole army is around this, it's starting to get quite expensive in points. So I had the minimum, which was the 3 Chaos Knights and a Gore Beast Chariot. And then my hero option, I went for the Chaos Lord on Karkadrak, because you can confirm this or not, Jamie, but is that an awesome model? The Chaos Lord.
It's an awesome muscle, and he also already has a 2+ D3 damage in his kit as well.
Boom, exactly. So what that means is I was getting, let's say I charged into like the main block the enemy had of screening, right? If I charged everything into that, that's going to be 3 dice and rolling for my 3 units of Chaos Knights. That's going to be 2 dice and rolling for my Chaos Lord and Karkadrak, because he has that inbuilt on his War Scroll, like you mentioned, Jamie. But also, the Gore Beast Chariot has that inbuilt on his War Scroll too. So with that, I'm actually rolling, what's that, quick maths, 7 dice, and on each 2 up is D3 mortal wounds. And then I get to fight. Which means that in that example, I've cleared whatever screen the enemy had, so now I get to attack everything they were trying to protect. And then if they didn't have a screen, wow, I've just done all that damage, and now I'm going to try and finish off whatever was left there, which I've explained with Chaos Knights is great because I don't want to be bogged down in combat. Gore Beast Chariot, you may be thinking, interesting choice. Why did I go for it? Honestly, because I've done a chariot conversion with a, a Slanesh Fiend, which I think is very cool, and I want to try it as soon as we can start gaming again. And also, as it was Idolaters, I wanted to take an Idolator Lord, which had to be a chariot. But apart from just going, I want to take it because it was cool, turned out to be pretty goddamn good, if I'm honest. And the marker I had during these games was Khorne, so it just made all my hitting into wounding much more reliable, which was great, and just made my units really more killy. Just trying to think of anything else to say. I know I went on a bit of a ramble there and a bit of a storytelling, but I think it was important to talk about my experience I've had sitting in front of a computer during a time of global uncertainty during this pandemic.
Like, I'd say it's the only way we can get games in at the moment is through that lockdown, isn't it? And
it's 95% accurate, right? So I think it's fair. I think it's good enough to draw experience from. And it just made, like you mentioned, Jamie, like you're really excited like with the mounted sort of side of this army, and so am I. And this battalion complements it really well. It's not like, for example, if you're really excited about the Chaos War Shrines and the Chaos War Shrine battalions let you down. This Runebringers, and also it's 140 points. It's 40 points cheaper, and it's great. I love it. Like, I don't really know what more I can say apart from being more biased.
I think it's definitely a worthwhile one, isn't it? Definitely the best one out of the first 3.
Yes, definitely. Like out of the, because the next ones we're going to go into like God Pacific ones, which are Slates of Darkness, but they are God Pacific. So like out of the generic ones, like generic undivided Slates of Darkness, not that you have to take undivided mark, but you know what I mean. This is the best one. But I really think the thing to take home of what I said here is your knights with lances need, unless they're just going into like something huge and they just need to kill it, and you're in there for the long game anyway. When they charge, they need to kill whatever they're going to attack, and this is only going to help. I know, like when I played against, who was it, Lumineth Realm Lords in one of those games, and they had their wardens had really good saves, like just flat out, just normally really good saves. So the fact that I could do mortal wounds to them was great. So it's going to help you against things like, I don't know, go against Liberators and they go, I've got a 2-up, rerolling 1s or something. Then you just go, well, okay, well, I'm going to chuck some D3 mortal wounds at you, and then I've got to chuck -2 rend at you as well. So deal with that. You know, it's only going to help. Cool. Anything else you want to add here, Jamie?
Yeah, I think we covered that one well. It's, like saying, the best one so far.
Definitely. And I just want to say also, to the left of me on my painting desk is the star of my 5th Chaos Knight, which when it is completed, I would then in real life have 3 units of painted Chaos Knights and a Chaos Gore Beast Chariot all painted and ready to go, and a Chaos Lord and Karkadrak and Demonic Mount painted. So like...
Already.
Already. And just to quickly say as well, in case you are quite new, I don't want to presume anything, like the Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount or Karkadrak isn't just like, oh, he's a mounted hero, let's chuck him in this battalion because feels right. He has got a command, not trait, a command ability, which allows one of your chariot units, basically, Gore Beast on normal, or your knights, to reroll their charge and also get +1 to hit.
Yeah, which is definitely helpful. Yeah, it all ties in very nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So it does work quite well. Yeah, cool. So with that, moving on to the next one, which is it's going to be one of your favourite ones, Jamie, because it's blood marked, and it's something that I have actually. So it's Khorne, and it's something I've actually played myself, and I've really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So it's going to cost you 180 points, right? So again, we're back up to that high number, which we didn't like. But let's talk about it a little bit more. So you've got your organisation, which is 1 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Khorne hero and 8 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Khorne units. It then says, this War Scroll battalion is part of the Khorne faction and the Slaves of Darkness faction. So that means you can take this and blaze the Khorne, which is cool, and I like it that they just stated that as well. So there's no like, could I take this because it's all the same mark? You just can. So maybe, like for example, my Slaves of Darkness, if I want to, I've got the Blades of Khorne Battle Tome, if I want to just play them in that, honestly, best value army ever, Slaves of Darkness, because of how many books you can play them in, I can. Like, it's a really nice addition. I think it's just important to mention, and it's the same in the rest of the God-specific ones, so I wanted to get that out of the way. But what are you actually getting in this battalion? So your abilities, which is Blood Rage. So as a Khornate Lord's kill, waves of bloodlust wash over his comrades, filling them with an unstoppable fury that can only be sustained by slaughter. So if a hero from this battalion slays an enemy hero, sorry, not enemy hero, enemy models. I was getting carried away with going for the big skulls. So I'll start from beginning. If a hero from this battalion slays any enemy models in the combat phase, you can pick 1 unit from the same battalion, wholly within 12 inches of that hero, and add 1 to the attack characteristics of that unit's melee weapons until your next hero phase. The same unit cannot benefit from this ability more than once per round. So, first time you read this, you may think, oh, it's okay, but I'm probably not going to want to attack with my Khorne hero because I'm going to want to attack with one of my 8 other units first, probably, with how I build the list. So how I run this battalion is a very Khorne marked Chaos Lord list, right? Because how I ran it, I had a Chaos Lord on foot, I had a Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount, and a Chaos Lord on Karkadrak, and a Chaos Lord on Manticore. You know, because you're going to have one of every type, haven't you, Jamie? You know, for the collection. And
oh yeah.
Why? How do I have all this battalion? Because yes, it states 1 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Khorne hero, but the 8 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Khorne units can be a Khorne marked hero in your Slaves of Darkness as long as it's mortal. So suddenly, in that list I had, out of my 9 units, so including the hero, out of my 9 units, 4 of them were killy heroes. Which, I don't know if you want to come here, Jamie, before again I just talk about how much I like this certain battalion. But you can see already, when you read into this just the second time, it opens up a huge more doors. And just want to quickly add in there, Archaon, you know, if you want to have him in this battalion, you can. He's got the keywords needed.
Yeah, the only thing, like I say, I don't know if you've read it anywhere where it says 8 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Khorne units. Heroes do count as a unit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a unit of 1.
Yeah.
Because I must say, it doesn't say on any war scrolls.
It's definitely a unit. It's definitely a unit, I can confirm.
They always count as a unit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you say, you can. This one is much better than that. You can actually fill out. So you get to have 9 drops out of your army in this one battalion, which can obviously, like you say, consist of like half your heroes if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or you can just put all your heroes into it.
Yeah, you can put all like the reason. So I'll tell you the reason why I had 4, and that's because I had a Chaos Sorcerer on foot to just be a caster, and he's got a good spell. And then I had Be'lakor, right? And the Chaos Sorcerer on foot can't take the Khorne one because he's a wizard, and Be'lakor is undivided anyway. But if I didn't take those 2 things, I would definitely have 6 more to Khorne heroes because in that particular... Because, okay, let me bring in the other part of this. You take this battalion in Ravengers, and that's because now all your Khorne Chaos Lords are all killy, and now got a command trait as well. Because you can have like 5 command traits in that list. So now, like if
and you get to pick which one is the general as well, who can then benefit from the general buff as well.
Yeah, and that's how I ran it, which was great, right? Because what that meant is let's just say my Chaos Lord and Karkadrak as an example, from what I can remember off the top of my head, he had can't remember the name of it, but he had the command trait that let him reroll 1s to wound. But if it was against Order, he could re-roll all failed wound rolls, I'm pretty sure. And what that meant is because he was Khorne, obviously. Yeah, that's one, isn't it? Because he was Khorne, obviously. And if he was in range of the general, which I pretty much always made sure he was, if he wasn't the general, let's say, he, with his axe, as an example, remember off the top of my head here, he was hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, wounded on 2s, re-rolling. And then you look at his sword, hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, wounded on 2s, re-rolling. And then like the axe, for example, has 2 damage each and 5 attacks. And then that made my Chaos Lord and Karkadrak. He got charged by 10 Drakespawn Knights from Cities of Sigmar, the Dark Elf Riders on their dinosaurs, which are pretty scary on the charge. He got charged by 10 of them. They attacked him first. He took about 3 damage, and then he killed 8 of them.
Yeah. And he can dish out some pain.
He can. And talking from someone who was like, oh, I absolutely love the model. I love how I painted him, but it's like, he's just not he's not worth his points. Actually, shut up and stop whining about it like a little bitch and actually try him out in a few games. Yeah, he can be really good because how I was running him before, and I feel like Hellslay's Darkness review has just been talking about how good Khorne is with its Aura Chaos Mark. But that's because, Jamie will clarify this, I tend to not be very lucky with my dice rolls. Can you confirm that, Jamie?
I like to look at it as I'm just good with my dice rolls.
Exactly, so I'm unlucky with my dice rolls. And what that means though, like when I attack with the Chaos Lord and Karkadrak and I hit him on 3s, I'm just like, nothing but 1s and 2s. Okay, he's terrible. But then when I take him in Khorne and I'm re-rolling and getting pluses to wound and everything, I actually get my damage through and my attacks through. And then I just need my opponent to be unlucky with their saves, which, good thing for Luke, who's played against this list a couple of times on TTS from the Discord. He is very unlucky sometimes with his dice rolls. So it all works out well there. But like I said, in this example where he killed all those Drakespawn Knights, we're not even talking about the battalion here. We're talking about the fact that he's just in Ravengers. Let's say I picked him to benefit from the Chaos Lord and Manticore killing something. Now my Chaos Lord and Karkadrak's make an extra attack.
Yeah, he has 4 attack profiles.
Yeah, only his hand weapons would be benefiting from the command trait, obviously, because it's not the mount. But yes, the mount would then get the extra attack here, because it can be... the mount can benefit. But also, have you got Chaos Knights or Chaos... I imagine Chaos Chosen would be an excellent choice for this.
Oh, yeah. I think if you can put this onto... if you could time it right, that your hero kills something, and then you put it onto a unit of charged knights, that extra attack with the lance is going to absolutely destroy whatever they're attacking.
Yeah, and I've done that, right? And it's worked really well. What I would, pardon me, what I would say though is your hero does have to. You have to elect one hero to do the attacking first, which is why I've got quite a few killer heroes. Even the Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount can be pretty hitty. And
but then this is also a good shout for that artifact of like the Manticore. putting the artifact on the Manticore or Carcadrax, or when they charge, they fight first.
Yes.
Just so then, you can pick your unit that you want to fight.
You can. Just bear in mind, if you did that, you wouldn't be able to go Ravagers.
No. Wait, it's another like combo you can have in it.
Absolutely, it is. Definitely. And just to talk through like the list I ran off the top of my head, I might miss something out, but I had a Chaos Lord on Manticore, Demonic Mount, Carcadraken on foot, like I said, and then the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot and Bellacore, because Bellacore's an auto include pretty much. And then for my units, I had 2 units of 5 Chaos Warriors, a unit of 5 Chaos Knights, and then maybe another unit of 5 Chaos Knights, or that might have just been the list. Like, it looked tight. I think there was another unit of 5 Chaos Knights. Basically, I had the minimum needed. So it looks very barren, the list, right? It looks very sort of like skinny, because all the points are like invested deep and heavily into the heroes. So the reason when I built this list, I was like, I just wanted something to be cool. I wanted to take a load of Chaos combat heroes, because I wanted to do lots of dice rolling on the Eye of the Gods. That was the idea behind it. And yes, there were 2 units of Chaos Knights, now I remember. But the idea is I wanted to do lots of rolling to try and turn things into Demon Princes. And then it turned out the list was very good. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because that was just me trying to make a fun list. So you can make it a lot better than that. And the artifact I went for in Ravagers was to give me the 18-inch Chaos Aura bubble. So it just meant whoever I picked would be benefiting so many units from it. Cool. I think we talked about this one for long enough. I understand like this one, the last one, been talking about for a while, but that's just because we're going to get to some of them, which probably the next one will be where we just talk about it quickly and move on. So I do really want to talk about in detail the ones that we do like here.
And it comes down to experience as well. The more experience you have with some of the battalions, the more you can openly say the good.
Yeah, and the thing that pains me here is, like I've mentioned in my other videos, in case you haven't heard me say already, my whole army is painted and converted for a Slanesh army, and then every video I end up preaching about how much I like the corn rules they start in this.
Well, you chose the wrong god.
Look, we can't both have the same colour scheme. Yeah, well, what I'd say is I've got a Hidden Knights book coming out, which, if it's anything like the first one, you're in a lot of pain as soon as lockdown's over.
Oh, joins. Hopefully my Deep King get as good as buff as what they first started off with.
Oh, yeah, that's fairly soon. I mean, I was surprised that Slanesh are getting a new book, right? Because I thought their old book isn't even that old. But I'm like, they've had so many FAQ changes, they needed just like a fresh new book. And Mortals are so much cooler than Demons. Absolutely. Which is why I'm not bothered really when it says like 1 Mortal Slaves of Darkness hero. I mean, it means that I can't have a Demon Prince, but I don't really care too much, if I'm honest. Cool. So with that, let us move on to the next one. So the next one is going to be essentially the Tzeentch one, which is Fatesworn Warband. It's 180 points. So the organisation said 1 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Tzeentch hero, 9 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Tzeentch units. So it then says this Warshgold Battalion is part of the Tzeentch faction, the Slaves of Darkness faction. So like I mentioned with the cool one, this can be taken in the Tzeentch book. And then your abilities, right? So there's a Scions of Change. So Tzeentch's sacred number is 9. Fortune favours those of his followers who adhere to it. So at the start of your hero phase, you can pick 1 unit from this battalion that has 9 or more models. If you do so until the end of that phase, that unit can attempt to cast 1 spell and attempt to dispel 1 endless spell. It knows the Stolen Sting spell. So the Stolen Sting spell, with a garbled cascade of change incantations, the caster warps and blunts the enemy blades. So Stolen Sting has a casting value of 7. It's successfully cast. Pick 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster and is visible to them. Worsen the rend characteristics of that unit's many weapons by 1 until your next hero phase. A unit cannot be affected by this spell more than once per turn. So what I will say about this, it's nice it's 18 inches and not 12 like every other Slated Darkness spell.
I must say, I do like the spell.
But I'm not paying 180 points for it.
The fact it's a 7, it is a good spell. But generally, Slaves of Darkness, Wizards, and Zeech in particular, you don't have pluses to cast in there.
No,
Probably the way to do it would probably be like those blue scribes, the blue horror scribes, can learn a spell.
But how many points you invested into them to learn this spell? That's all right. like
I said, again, you could go up against an army that has generally no rend anyway. So you're not going to be needing to use it.
I'm not going to lie. Like a unit with -1 rend is good, right? It can be the difference between them being able to wipe out an enemy unit and them doing nothing. But this spell for 180 points, it's not worth it. I would have loved it if the ability was pick one of your wizards for this hero phase. They get +1 to cast. So they add 6 inches to the range of their spell, and even then, I probably wouldn't take it. Like, it's not for me. And also, I know it's very thematic because it's all about the gods and their favourite numbers, but Zeech really gets the short straw here of you having to have 9 separate mortal Slaves of Darkness units. So that's 10.
And the units has to be 9 or more models, so they've got to be quite, they've got to be quite high models,
Yeah, well, you can look at
10 Chaos Warriors going to cost you 200 points.
And then the enemy will kill 2 of them, so then you can't do anything.
Also, Marauders would be maybe the best bet, because you can charge them in, and they can do this spell before they charge in, I suppose. And then they're going to mitigate a lot of the damage they're going to receive if they don't wipe out wherever they're charging. Or for the next round. Yeah, like I say, Zeech seems to really got the short end of the straw from this book.
Yeah, what I would say though, right? So,
but I can't complain. Their book is stupid.
Yeah. So the positive I will say about this battalion is a couple of units in Slaves of Darkness, which people say can be an auto-include. Could be a Curse Sorcerer Lord on foot because it's a very good demonic power spell to let things re-roll hit rolls and wound rolls, or the Chaos Lord on Manticore for his anti-Horde spell. People can refer to those as auto-includes, and depending on what you're going up against, it certainly can be. So the problem here is that if I went the Khorne battalion, right, the Bloodmark battalion, I then take that battalion, and then I have to have 2 extra drops, right? Because I've got the Manticore, and then I've got the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot. Whereas here, you could have a 1-drop army. You're not getting Be'lakor, sure, but like, you could have a 1-drop out of this. And I'm not saying the battalion ability is worth it, but like, there are other benefits.
Yeah.
It's possible. So yeah, and also I do just want to say, like, on the lore bit here, where it goes, Stolen Sting, with a garbled cascade of change incantation, the caster warps, and you can just imagine the enemy going, oh my god, is he going to turn me into a Chaos One? What's he going to do? I'm so scared, what's going to happen? Blunts the enemy's blades. I mean, I'm not going to lie, if I was standing there, I'd be like, yeah, this is alright, I'll take that.
You still get beaten with it.
Yeah, that's all right, I've got another sword. Brilliant.
Let's use it as a bludgeoning instrument.
I can only imagine that what happened to Merry in that Rohirrim encampment in the Return of the King, when was told his sword was very blunt. I presume Zeech was involved, maybe somewhere. Do you know what the scene I'm talking about, Jamie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine that was happened. Right, so going on to I think we talked about that one for long enough. Like, there we go. If you're a Zeech fan, I did that for you. Right, on to the next one. Before we move on, first Slaves of Darkness models I ever bought was Zeech themed. You fought against them, JB. So, like, I should feel a connection here, but I think Zeech has just got too bad of a rep for me now. Of like, Skyfire's been broken now. pink, like that got fixed, but now like pink horrors are like they're just too janky. And me and Jamie don't like them because of Kara's Fate Weaver, which we will not talk about here. But yes, right.
Yeah, they got all their OP stuff in their own book, so they don't need it in this one as well.
Exactly. Like almost like if you look at, sorry, just quickly say, this battalion is part of a Zeech faction. I imagine like the competitive Zeech players would just look at this and go, "What a waste of time."
What a waste of ink.
Yeah, go like, "Oh, I've got a better battalion for that, and it's half the points." Okay, going on to a battalion that a lot of people take and is known for being good though is the Plague Touch Warband, which, if you guessed that this was the Nurgle one and not the Slaanesh one, well done. It's going to cost you 180 points. Organisation is 1 Mortal Slaves to Darkness Nurgle hero and 7 Mortal Slaves to Darkness Nurgle units. This War Scroll battalion is part of the Nurgle faction and the Slaves to Darkness faction. So the abilities, which is Grandfather's Favour. The blessings of the Plague God prime these warriors with bile swollen bodies, I'm just going to say, that are ready to explode in torrents of foulness when struck. So basically, if you get in a fight in Mackie D's or something. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon that targets a unit from this battalion is a 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. In addition, in your hero phase, you can pick 1 unit from this battalion and 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of it. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 3+, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
Well, they got a lot. You just kind of look up to the Zeech one and you like weep a little bit for them.
Never.
Because Nurgle, they're already doing the 2 damage on 6s to wound. If you're within, I know that's just their general aura ability. So now you're doing on the 6 as well a mortal wound, which a mortal wound, it says in addition to. In the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. Yeah, so it's in addition.
Yeah, I mean, to just get this.
And what we all like, mortal wounds extra is always brilliant.
Yeah. Say start. I'm trying to think. You do have some mortal wound output, like your odd hero and stuff can do demonic blades, and I think to be honest, anything.
The chosen can do mortal.
The chosen are the main way, really. Yeah, so you do already have a few ways to do mortal wounds, but for just like standard units of, let's say, Chaos Warriors and Marauders or something, could be useful. And also just to say...
Yeah, definitely on Chaos Warriors and Knights as well.
Yeah, and just, sorry, I just want to make sure I read it right. So if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made with a melee weapon that targets a unit from this battalion is a 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. So does that mean 1 mortal wound for each 6? Or just 1, regardless of how many 6s they got?
It says for an attack, so I imagine it's, if you roll, 80 dice and get 26s, you're suffering 20 mortal wounds.
Yeah, because it would say any 6s otherwise, wouldn't it? If any 6s were rolled to wound, then it would only be 1, because it's and 6. Yeah, so cool. Well, there you go. That's the reason why everyone talks about this and why everyone takes it, is because you've got that thing there, which I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, it's great. Like with that already, and then
you got the second bit.
Which is just like, why not give that to the Zeech guys, or the Slaanesh ones we'll get to.
Why don't the War Shrine get this ability?
That alone is better than the War Shrine ability.
I know you only get to pick one of your units and then
still better.
It's on a 3+, the unit suffers an extra, D3 more wounds. It's a good way to maybe hopefully kill off someone who's trying to tag one of your units to be bloody annoying, or to try and chip off like a hero or something.
Yeah, it's
it's just it's just so much better, isn't it?
Yeah, and But why do I not like this battalion, and why am I not talking about it nearly as enthusiastic as the ones who are arguably not as good as this? Because this is what I see the competitive lists take. It's the sort of, when Slaves to Darkness first came out, and even now, everyone's unless you're being cool, everyone's go-to mark is Nurgle, which really bores me because it's my least favourite god. Sorry out there if you really like Nurgle. It's my least favourite god. Also, I don't want all my guys, my like really cool like Slanesh looking warriors to be bloated corpses practically walking around. Right, if I'm saying they're like muscle-bound bodybuilders, i.e. Khorne, I will live with that. But being, like I described, my McDonald's scenario, no! Don't want that at all. I refuse to take it, and also it's very popular, so I refuse to take it, and that is why I'm determined to make Khorne as good as I can, because then that can be kind of my thing for now before a lot of other people do it. So for me, not a fan of Nurgle. I just don't like the fat, bloated, disease aesthetic. Personally,
I know,
if you like,
some people like it. That's yeah.
Yeah, if you look, guys. I mean, I've done probably over 10 hours worth of content for Nurgle, so like there are some things that are definitely cool, like Clan Pestilence, awesome, that sort of stuff. But if you like that thing, we all like different stuff. Like some people would tell me that they don't even like anything to do with death, really. So like there we go. We all have different things, but I think the main reason I don't like it is just because it's popular. And that's a really personal thing, right? If something's popular, that tends to mean that more people are going to like it and go for it. But for me, I think you're a bit of the same, aren't you, Jamie? Like if everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, it kind of puts you off. You know, some people obviously that's the go-to, but I like to know what I like, and I want to build around what I like, not just people take that's good, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Even though, like you say, I don't really like Nurgle, I'm not just going to build a Nurgle army for this battalion and for the buffs or whatever. Even though I don't like the paint idea of it, I don't like the building. It's not what I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, and like we say, guys, personal opinion. So you know, if you think differently, great for you. And like I'm not saying it's a bad battalion; it's a great battalion. But I think with me, like I said, why I don't like things that are popular, and I said that in probably most of my videos that involve a popular thing, is because then if you take something that's not popular and you make it work, you have made it work, and you haven't just copied it off the internet. But yeah, the Plague Touch Warband is very good. Probably flat out the best. Because, like I said, the Khorne one was very good, but you have to kind of build into that with your heavy combat heroes. And they're not even incredibly heavy combat, right? They're just pretty good. And then the Runebringer battalion was really cool if you wanted things all mounted and loads of knights and stuff. But just for like a overall good battalion, Plague Touch Warband definitely, because 7 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Nurgle units plus your hero for that is a really nice number to work towards. So yeah, like as much as I'm
your
kicking
opponent's
it,
attacking you,
it's the best one.
They're taking damage.
Yeah, like it's great, and you're doing the D from all wins as well.
Yeah, and it's good for you. Like you don't even have to. Your opponent can roll those 6s to wound, and you can save every single one of them, but they're still taking that damage.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. If I see someone with a load of Dracofs attack this Nurgle army, and then they get so many 6s with their claws to do the D6 damage at that point, yeah, the Dracoff player may be happy in the Stormcast, but will soon regret that, because then he goes like, I saw you rolled 10 6s, yeah. What's your mortal wound save? He like says very arrogantly, very modestly, oh, I'll tell you what, that's the weakness of Stormcast. Don't have a mortal wound save? Good, that's 2 dead Dracoffs. What? Like, I hope you enjoy this 10 dead marauders. Yeah, so it is a really good one. And what I also want to say, like, because we've mentioned the fact that, you know, like me and Jamie personally don't like the aesthetic of Nurgle, but like I think I mentioned this in the coach's video, honestly, just look at these marks as different rules for your army, because that's all they are, right? Don't look at them as go, oh, well, I don't really want to paint my guys in a, let's say, a Zeech scheme or something, but I want to run those rules. Just run them however you want, guys. Just look at it as like it's a separate, it's not a sub-allegiance, but look at it as like it's a separate sub-allegiance you can do. Like, you don't have to have things looking the same colours and everything. So yeah, cool. That is the Plague Touch Warband.
Oh, we get into your best one now.
Most disappointed one. I've been bloody literally really annoyed at this. Really
They got a cool name now.
It has got a name that I'm not allowed to repeat outside of a certain room what this name means to me. But it means many good wishes upon me, and that's all I'm going to leave it at. But lockdown is making that very hard. So anyway, going on. So it's got 160 points, right? Pleasure-bound warband. Organization: 1 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Slaanesh hero and 6 Mortal Slaves of Darkness Slaanesh units. This War Scroll battalion is part of the Slaanesh faction and the Slaves of Darkness faction, as mentioned with the other ones. And then abilities. So perverse yearnings. Just reading that, I was thinking, like, I don't think that's something I can pronounce, but then it's surprisingly too easy. So I feel like something's wrong. But the sight of inflicted torment sees these decadent warriors surge forth, eager to give and receive the gift of agony. I can just imagine a Slaanesh, imagine being a free guild guard, scared out of your mind, but fighting against Slaanesh Slaves of Darkness. And then one of the Slaanesh just runs up to you, go, oh my god, I'm going to die. And he just puts his arms to the side, just hit me really hard. It's like, what? Hit me? Where? Anywhere. He just oh god, I don't know what's happening, just kill me. But if a model from this battalion is slain in the combat phase, units from the same battalion can move an extra 3 inches when they pile in until your next hero phase. Okay.
Yay.
If you took away the first bit, that means something has to die, and it has to be from this battalion, I would go, I can try and do something with it, right? But I will say I've got an idea for this, but I want to hear your thoughts, Jamie. First, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's quite pony, really. Like you say, so something in this battalion, a model has to die in the combat phase as well. So your first, if it's your turn, your first activation, you're not getting the extra 3 inches because nothing of your army's died yet.
Yeah. Just laughing.
And then you gotta wait till you're just waiting. You're hoping that whoever your opponent fights with kills something, but then anything else to pile in an extra 3 inches.
Yeah, so you're gonna pile and tap me a big scary unit? Nah. Why? I want the extra 3 inch piling. Oh. So what are you gonna attack with? I don't know. Got this spawn. Might as well give that a go. Unless you just run a spawn in there, let it die. But why are you wasting 50 points? Right, I'll tell you through my idea I have, right? Now, the important thing is here, Jamie, yeah? Is we forget the fact that something from this battalion has to die first. Because that just dampens it, right? Okay, so we forget about the mechanics of this battalion. We just talk about how I want it to work. Okay, so I've mentioned taking units of 10 Chaos Knights, right? And how that's a bad idea. But my Centaur conversions for my Slaves to Darkness, Slaanesh Knights, I've done a showcase video on it on the channel, if you've seen it already. Really like them, put a lot of work into them, and I converted them up to be a unit of 10. And then after getting some play testing with Slaves to Darkness, I just really realised the unit of 10 isn't really working for the reasons I've already stated. But I think a unit of 10 could maybe work here. Because a unit of 10 with this ability has a 6 inch piling, right?
Yeah, that would really help them
get all
getting obviously you've either you don't mind if you lose one, I suppose. But if you lost one Chaos Knight,
you've
still got
2 in or something with the extra piling.
Yeah, but it does. It does mean you can maybe play in that kind of sense.
Yes. So the little bit of secret tech I've got here, and I don't want to say like secret tech as in I'm so clever, because I still don't think this is a very good way to play. But what I would do, right? So you've got your Chaos Knights. They pile in 6 inches, yeah. Unit of 10. But you also take a Chaos Lord on foot that's made them pile and attack twice, because then that unit is piling in 12 inches during that combat phase.
Yeah, that can definitely be.
So they move.
It's putting in a lot of work to make it work.
But not.
But if you do put it off,
ridiculous
it
amount of
would
work.
be quite. It would be good.
And I think something that would, and I don't like I say, I don't like, oh, I got your moment, and you like basically screwed the enemy over because you did something a bit janky. But I don't think a lot of people would see this coming.
No, piling in 6 inches. Like I say, if you make something pile in attack twice, you kill whatever they're in combat with,
Mm-hmm.
and then you pile in 6 inches because of something's died. Obviously, you still probably the best thing to run with this would either be run like marauders on horsemen, run them forward as well, charge them in. You don't really care if one of them dies or all of them die because they're in the battalion. So then you can like double pile in with the knights.
Yeah, it's something you could definitely do, and the Marauder Horseman give you the speed there. Because like the Chaos Knights in this situation, they move 10, right? They're charging. Your Slanesh, if they're in range of your general, which if you're taking a unit of 10 Chaos Knights, that's the thing you want to do well, so it will be within range of your general. They're re-rolling their charge roll, right? So let's say they get, the average is 7, but with re-rolling, let's say they definitely get that, right? So with their horn +1, so they move 10, 8 to charge, and then they've got the 12-inch piling from here. So with that, they could move like 30 inches, and that's not like, or like if you're lucky on your charge, no, that's giving you like basically the average, which is quite unlucky with your reroll charge. So that is like kind of could be minimum 30 inches movement. But the important thing to say here is that's 30-inch movement, but they charge that turn, so they're still getting their bonus with the lance.
Yeah.
I think that this battalion, when we first read it, we don't like it. It's not good. It's not worth taking. But I'm not saying the idea I have of the unit of 10 Chaos Knights is, poor. Yeah, this thing's definitely worth 160 points now. Definitely take it. I'm not saying that at all. I still don't think it is. But what I think is that we've managed to have an interesting conversation.
It's something which I feel like it's worth trying to put into practice.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, and I'll be honest, when we can start gaming again, and I'll probably play Khorne a little bit, but like I think our first time is going to be like, you're going to be playing your, like, first time Slays Darkness versus Slays Darkness, you're going to be playing your Khorne, I'm going to be playing my Slanesh. It's going to be, a battle god versus god sort of situation. And it might be something I want to try out, right? Because I think it could be interesting. So, like I said, those knights move in a ridiculous pace at that point, but that's just because I want to see if a unit of 10 Chaos Knights can work, and in this they can do. But what I want, and just to quickly say, the Chaos Lord on foot does his parley attack twice command ability at the start of the combat phase, so you don't have to worry that your knights are now out of range of him. It does at the start, so it's fine. But what I will say is, even if your knights, let's say they kill whatever they're in combat with first, right? And then it goes, well, you're not within 3 inches of me, so you can't pile in now. And it's like, because they've made that charge move, they can pile in. As far as I read it. So it means they can then basically sort of skip around the board at that point. Which is good. And I'm just talking about Chaos Knights here, right? You go, you're chosen, right, combat phase, they've moved 12 inches. And Jamie, you will agree with me here when I say this countless times. Age of Sigmar is one on movement.
Oh yeah, definitely. So
So
you can try
you're
and squeeze movement out of somewhere.
so your slow Chaos Chosen, are they really that slow anymore? And I get it, right? Chaos Chosen are slow until they're in combat. It doesn't really matter anymore. But it's I think this is really good. Like, well, okay, let me take that statement back. For something that we thought was crap, I think it's really good. Like, if you ask me, is this as good as the Khorne one? Or the Nurgle one? Or the Runebringer? No. But, like, for first impressions, I've got a more positive thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. When you do a little bit of a deep dive,
If you take the
it
Chaos
seems
Lord
like
on...
it could be a lot better.
Yeah. If you take the Chaos Lord on foot out of this list, like, no. But the Chaos Lord on foot, piling 12 inches is huge. Bear in mind, that's moving things onto objectives. Like, that's really good.
Especially if, like you said, like your opponent is like screening an objective. So like knowing that if you charge that unit and even if you kill them, you're not really taking the objective. This can kind of counteract it.
Yeah. And like we
But
said,
yeah, I kind of feel like there is a play. Like you said, it's kind of reliant on the Chaos Lord to make it better.
yeah. To be honest, not gonna lie, I'd maybe take 2 Chaos Lords on foot.
But I don't think it's like you said, I don't think it's nothing to really ride home about. But it's something again that is like worth having a go with.
Exactly. And that, to be honest, you've hit it on the head, and that's all I care about. Because from saying they were like, never going to be taking this to, actually, I'm going to give it a go to see if it works. That's all I care about, yeah? Like, and I think that is a good discussion. And that is, to be honest, I mean, there's people now who probably were watching this at the start and then have stopped watching it now because I've rambled on so much about things that may or may not be relevant. But I think by having these deep discussions and why I sort of pride the channel on having the most in-depth army reviews is because by talking about something for a long time, a thought pops into your head of how you can use something and then change your negative idea about something into something that could be more positive. And something he personally really likes, Sinesh. I'm really glad I managed it. Don't get me wrong, I might try this out and it'd be crap. It doesn't work at all, but it now means I'm going to try it out.
Yeah, I don't feel like we're going to get that much on the last one here.
No, yeah. Okay, so that was the Pleasure Bound Warband. So next one, right, 120 points, yeah. Overlords of Chaos, 3 to 6 hosts of the ever-chosen
that's
Baron
pretty
Guard.
cheap, but you need it to be cheap with Baron Guard.
And I'm right, if there's any more points now, I don't think it'll fit in a list. But the abilities, right? I'll tell you what, do you want to read this one out, Jamie? Because I've been reading them all out, haven't I? So I'll let you do this.
When Arcanine is marked Pacific 5 for destruction, he will call to his side those of the Baron Guard best suited to the task. When you select this battalion as part of your army, you can give each unit in this battalion one of the following keywords. And that is the 1st to 8th circle. Which, when we went over the Baron Guard, the host of the Everchosen, and their circles, there's only 2 that are really... Was there 2 or 3 that really stood out?
Right, so there are...
You had the fly.
There's fly. Right, okay, so let's just say this, right? There's the 8th circle, yeah? That's your fly. That can be good. I've tried that. It was basically... It was only really good for moving over scenery, is how I found it. Because like, if you go, I'm going to charge over the enemy unit to be able to attack them from behind, yeah, just like the basis of your Baron Guard, like you need to get a really high charge roll to do that. But for the simpleness of being able to move over terrain, it was nice. There's one that gives you reroll hit and wound rolls, I believe, or maybe hit and wound rolls of 1 against enemy heroes and monsters, I think it is, which is cool.
Yep, that's the 5th circle.
But the one we all care about is the 6th circle, because that's 2 damage on the charge, which, as me and you had a really in-depth talk about it when we reviewed them. Go check that video out, guys, which is, poor, trying to remember now, part 2, the army series, I want to say, where we reviewed the units. But when we talked about Vanguard, there probably half an hour. If you go and source all weapons or enscrolled weapons, whatever it is, that's 6 attacks each per Vanguard, yeah? That's 18 attacks for a unit of 3. If you go Khorne, and you've got Archaon on the table, you have got 18 attacks, hit on 2s, reroll on 1s, wounding on 2s, and then reroll on 1s because they're attacking the thing that Archaon has said this turn, I want you to kill that thing. And then that means, literally, I've ran Vanguard probably about at least 4 games now, and I will start with 18 attacks, and then I make the enemy do, I think the worst was 17 save rolls. Because of all the re-rolls, because you're hitting and wounding on 2s and you're re-rolling, you're just getting it all through. Which then means the enemy is making, on average, for me anyway, 18 save rolls at only -1 rend, but still -1. And for every one of those fails, it's 2 damage. Which is huge.
Yeah. And Vanguard need to put out, they need to do a lot of work.
We were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? We had a quick text and stuff to each other to all my Vanguard, saying because you look at them, 3 up save, you think, oh, pretty survival. No, they're really not. So they need to be really offensive output.
Yeah, they need to be really offensive and really need to make up for, obviously, like I said, them only being 3 models. They've really got to make it up and pull their way.
Yeah.
This battalion, I suppose it's not bad if you're trying to play Vanguard without Archaon.
Yeah, but bear in mind you have to take this in Archaon's Grand Host or host the Everchosen, where you only get basically all the abilities of Archaon as general.
Yeah, if you want a bit of variety in the circles, I suppose, but it's not enough to warrant 120 points in a very, you're talking about Archaon already isn't enough half your army.
Yeah.
120 points doesn't sound like a lot, but in a list that has Archaon in it, 120 points is going to be a lot.
I'll tell you, 120 points, right, is the difference in... It's 10 points more, right, than putting a Chaos Lord on foot in your army and getting Archaon you're attacking twice. Is this worth 10 points more than making Archaon attack twice? Absolutely not. The facts... what this ability does, by giving you the choice of picking different circles for your different Vanguard, I'm going to give them all the 6th circle anyway, so I don't really care. If anything, that would just mean that I'd be giving them the 6th circle separately. What I would say it could be useful for you is if your army literally has Archaon and nothing but Vanguard, because these Vanguards will be battle line, you might want that flexibility.
Yeah, and it pretty much puts you then to a 2-drop.
Yeah, exactly. What I would say though is save the 120 points and put in obviously put in what you want, but put in those units that give you the flexibility instead of tweaking your Vanguard to do different things. I don't know, even just putting a unit of Furies in here, or put in a unit of Iron Golems and a Chaos Spawn, for Christ, just to give you 2 extra units to hold objectives and stuff. But what I will want to say quickly, just talking about how good Vanguard is, because I know we've kicked their battalion when it's down, basically. But what I want to say about how good Vanguard are, it's the example I gave to you. 6 circle, on the charge, 18 attacks. Easy enough for most of them to go through. That's 36 damage. They can do their once per game piling attack twice. And that is something I did in a TTS game I had yesterday. I basically charged 4 Fulminators, which are 4 Stormcast Draco Fridays, which are on full health. I charged them with 2 Vanguard, and one of my Vanguard had 1 wound remaining. So that was 6 wounds of Vanguard, right? charge those Dracoffs, and the damage they did in combat was, I think it was something like 30 odd wounds to a guys that have a free up save.
Which is a good damage amount.
Yeah, like it's, and I understand like my opponent was like more unlucky of his save rolls and stuff, but that was 24 attacks I made that were doing 2 damage each. Because they were attacking twice. So if you've got a unit of 3 of them, we said that's, 18 attacks. In that combat phase where they attack twice, and let's say the enemy hasn't hit them back hard enough to be able to kill one, that is 36 attacks that do 2 damage each. So that could be 72 damage.
Yeah, which is a nice amount.
Vanguard went from being looking really cool, from doing nothing, to being really cool and offensive. So yeah, I know like that's not really specific to this battalion, but because we, like I said that the Vanguard battalion unfortunately isn't very good, I wanted to say something cool about Vanguard. Anything else you want to add to that, Jamie?
No, I think it's had its
It's time.
like little use.
Yeah. Okay. So going on to the last
But
one.
all in all, yeah, it's mediocre.
All right. Summary: Don't take this battalion. Your Vanguard are good enough as it is. Put this towards your Vanguard or towards a Chaos Lord on foot to make him pile an attack in a second combat phase. Whatever. Cool. The next one is also the last one, which is going to be a quick one to be honest with you, because it's the Chaos Horde, which is the Mega Battalion, which is going to cost you 140 points. If you're taking this thing, you don't really care about points at this point anyway. Literally, you're trying to make your army as many points as possible. So, the organisation, right? So, 1 Godsworn Champions of Ruin Battalion and 4 to 8 Warscroll Battalions chosen from the following list at any combination: God's Wrath Warband, Runebringer Warband, Bloodmarked Warband, Fatesworn Warband, Plague Touch Warband, and Pleasurebound Warband. So, this battalion is made up of 5 other battalions at least, or 9 battalions, if you want to go the full mile. But what are you getting after selling your house and buying this army? So, Uncommon Onslaught. So, railed under the banner of the Overlord, a Chaos Horde on the warpath is all but unstoppable. Once per turn, you can use 1 command ability on the War Scroll of a hero from this battalion without spending a command point. Then in addition, add to move characteristics of units from this battalion in the first battle round. I mean, like, that's not a bad ability, to be fair. If that's on an actual battalion I could use, that'd be decent. Because I actually think that's the first time I've ever read that. But you're never going to have
read
this.
it just before we were doing this, and it's like, well, if perhaps one day, when we're like 80 years old and Warhammer is maybe still going, we might have a combined army that can do this.
Yeah, maybe one day. Like, and I get it. Like, someone could say, well, if you get minimum size units and each one of these battalions doesn't have right, I get that. But if you did minimum size like units for each of those battalions and you put it on the table, it's not going to look cool at all. Like, I get it. Right, put it this way: if someone said to me, you can have a mega battalion in your battle tome, or just none. Not that we take it out and then we give you a few new other battalions, which would be perfect, but either mega battalion or no mega battalion, and that's literally. I mean, it's always cool, isn't it? Because like me and you have had a big game at Warhammer World where there's probably about 16,000 points on the table.
Took us 2 days, and we still didn't finish.
We got to turn 2, I think, but. It's cool they put it in, but it's something you're never really going to see. So there's no really point to talk about it. If you can take this and you can feel this, the type of game you're playing on that epic scale, like I said, you're trying to be as many points as possible, probably just to boast about it. So you're going to take this. And that's enough said. And then
points are going to be no limit, and you're just totally doing it all for fun, which is just going to be a great laugh.
Exactly. And also you get that extra 2-inch movement at your first battle round, so they help you moving all those models.
Yeah, but you haven't been out a while.
You are. And I'd actually want Once per turn, you can use one command ability on the war score of a hero. Okay, on a hero. If it was all your heroes, that's a lot of command points for free. But as it is. So with that, I want to end the video there. That's all the battalions, and I think we've talked about them for long enough. So guys, I really hope you found this video useful. Hopefully it's made you think about something you didn't think about beforehand, or maybe you had this idea and you go, oh, it's just not going to work, and then me and Jamie gave you really strong competitive advice, and then you're just like, yes, absolutely, I want it to work now. Joking aside, I hope you guys found this video useful. If you've got any questions or anything like that, please put them down in the comments down below, as I'm always happy to try and help you guys where I can. Slaves of Darkness is actually an army, if you haven't guessed already, that I play. So I am quite experienced and knowledgeable with it as well, so I can give you general advice with that. Or alternatively, if there's anything that me and Jamie have said and you disagree with it, please let us know down below, as we're all here to learn. And again, if there's anything that you heard and you agreed with, let us know that as well, because it's always good to know that we are right and not insane. What I'd also like to say as well is another massive shout out to my patrons, which are my Morghasts, so Sandback, my Vampires, which is Mir, Martinez, Rouse321, Max T and David A, my Necromancers, which is Jacq.l, RadiationRiley, AW77, Dice Sagas and WolfNick. Guys, whatever tier you are, do an enormous job. If it wasn't for you, wouldn't be able to continue this channel, so thank you a huge amount. Like I said at the start of the video, if you would like to support the channel, please check out my Patreon in the link down below, which will take it to the Patreon site. And even if you can give just $1 a month, guys, that goes straight towards keeping this channel going. So I'd really appreciate it if you can have a look at that. But if you can't do that, if you did enjoy this video, please smash that like button and that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that bell notification, as like I said, that's all completely free and really does help out the channel. And also, if you found this video useful, make sure you share it with anyone else who you think might as well. As, like I say, I do this channel to try and help as many people with Age of Sigmar as much as possible. If you are wondering what that beep is every so often, that is my Discord in the background, so apologies for that, but I just can't seem to turn off those notifications. But with that, beyond everything else, I want to say a massive thank you to, like I said, one of Khorne's favourite Bloodthirsters. I don't know if you beat Scarbrand, but you go, oh, he doesn't really like Scarbrand, so I'm going to say the favourite at the moment, Jamie. So thank you very much for joining me in this video, as of always.
Always a pleasure.
It's great fun, eh? Like, me and Jamie were texting each other before we got into this, and we just said, like, we've both like looked at the battalions, but we haven't had like a long discussion about them. So like, we'd probably learn some stuff, and to be honest, I think I have. Is there anything that we've read today, Jamie, that you thought maybe has made you take a second think about it?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a few more worth considering.
Yeah, and it's
for sure.
And like I mentioned, you know, like, just look at taking the different marks as like an other rule you have in your army. It's like, you know, like all your stuff is done as Khorne. There's no reason why you couldn't take it if you wanted to in Nurgle or like Slaanesh, or to try different things out. If you wanted to go, oh, I want to make my chosen move 12 inches in the combat phase, you could. And something just to say about with that battalion, it's until your next hero phase, so you can do it in your enemy's turn as well, which is cool. Which means that you could try and take an objective off them in their own turn, which would be funny. But yeah. Anyway, guys, so with that, I'm going to thank you all very much for watching this video. And remember, as always, until next time, that stay safe, wash your hands, stay hygienic, wear a mask. See this every video, because as soon as we start doing all of this and my bloody Discord stops going off, we can all get back to gaming again. Should also say, with the Discord, if you want to join the Discord, so you can have those notifications going off every 2 seconds when you try and do a video, please join it, and you'll meet a really good bunch of people who are really enthusiastic about the hobby. But anyway, guys, more importantly, as always, until next time, remember that Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.